The Senate is expected to vote on a Democratic-backed War Powers Resolution Act later today that would halt the president's ongoing attack on Iran. Joining us right now is Senator Cynthia Lummis. She chairs the Banking Subcommittee on Digital Assets. And, Senator, thank you for being with us today. Let's start first with the news of the day and what we are seeing in Iran and what you plan to vote later today in this resolution.
Well, nice to see you, Becky. I tell you, this war with Iran has had a slow roll since the late 1970s. So we've been in a forever war with Iran since I was a young person. What we're seeing now is the beginning of the end of that forever war, and I thank President Trump and his team for taking decisive action to remove the leadership in Iran and give the Iranian people a chance to self-govern.
Senator, what are our objectives as they've been explained to you? We just heard this briefing again from Pete Hegseth, and the point they are making once more is that this is not going to be an endless war. This is not going to be something, it sounds like, where boots are on the ground. How much resolve do we have, and how long do you anticipate this will continue?
Well, Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth and General Kane have all made it clear that President Trump's goal is to rid them of the ability to produce a nuclear weapon and remove their ability to protect their production of a nuclear weapon with their huge array of ballistic missiles, short, long, and medium range. This has been voiced dozens and dozens of times since this war began last week. I'm going to vote to support the president. I'm going to vote against using the War Powers Act. President Obama was not required to use the War Powers Act when Democrats are in control. What we're seeing right now is a move by Democrats to hold President Trump to a standard that they didn't hold their own presidents of their own parties to. So I'm very confident that we should be moving forward. Give the president the opportunity to use all the tools available to him to accomplish the very clear goal that he has articulated. We cannot let them have a nuclear weapon.
No, some of the Democrats we've had on, Senator, they twist themselves into pretzels to explain to me why this time this applies, but on the other times it didn't. I think there was some resolution from leftover from 9/11 or something that gave clearance, but the Constitution is fairly clear that while Congress needs to declare war, which hasn't been done since World War II, there hasn't been a declaration of war, there are things the president, the commander-in-chief, from the Constitution is allowed to do. So I don't even understand it. Can I ask you about something really totally mundane and different? No tax or some type of different tax, capital gains on Bitcoin and crypto. Is there anything to some of these rumors we hear? Could it be $600 for small transactions? Could it be no tax whatsoever? Do you know what's being considered at this point? What is actually, Paul, what's realistic?
Yeah, it's called the de minimis exemption, and the number that is being looked at by House Ways and Means and Senate Finance is right around $300 as a de minimis exemption. But the challenge is trying to figure out how you can use Bitcoin as a means of exchange without paying a capital gains tax on it. So we're trying to figure out how to weigh the appropriate way to decide when a sale of, for example, a Bitcoin should be subject to capital gains and when it should be allowed to be used as a simple means of exchange the same way we use the U.S. dollar.
Well, think about it. I should be getting a capital loss carryover or forward every time I use a dollar. Shouldn't I? I mean,
That's right, because it's you're so right, Joe. By design, the U.S. dollar loses value at 2% or more every year. So you're right. If we did the same thing with the U.S. dollar, all taxpayers would be getting a capital loss annually.
Well, that's why I guess we need clarity with the clarity thing to figure all these things out. Is it a security or is it an asset? Should there be long-term capital gains? It all needs to be figured out. Unfortunately, it's got to be done by Congress and the Senate, which is probably not great.
Well, we've been negotiating, we Republicans on the Banking Committee have been negotiating with the Democrats since September. And we've tried to get this Clarity Act, which the House already passed, to mark up in the Senate Banking Committee. We've given over 90 of the requests that the Democrats had of us to them, and yet we can't get them to yes. So we're still working with them. This is going to be a huge asset, and today's announcement by Kraken that they now have access to a Skinny Master account is going to add another opportunity for the new integration of the fiat dollar with digital assets. So this is a huge step forward. Very happy to see the Fed finally realize that we can integrate these financial products in a way that benefits Americans.
Senator, explain the news with Kraken, because I'm not sure I understand it. I've read it, but I don't entirely understand it. The news that the Federal Reserve is now going to be accepting this first digital asset company to earn a master account. What does that mean?
Well, Kraken used a Wyoming law that was very foresightful called a Special Purpose Depository Institution to form. Wyoming has a very comprehensive, clear examination for safety and soundness of these companies. And yet, under the Biden administration, the Fed would not approve digital asset companies that formed similarly to access the Fed's payment window. So there wasn't a way to integrate digital assets with the U.S. fiat currency. Kraken has now become the very first digital asset company to gain access to the Fed window. The Fed finally recognized the importance of this asset embedding in the U.S. And can now use safety and soundness standards, apply them to digital asset financial institutions like Kraken, and have partial access to the Fed, which allows them to begin integrating the U.S. dollar with digital assets. It really is going to be the future. In the future, you're going to see banks buying digital asset companies buying banks. So if you go into a bank, they can serve you both in fiat currencies like the U.S. dollar and digital assets like Bitcoin. It's going to create the 21st century financial services industry.